You've been told your whole life that your thoughts are private, that whatever you think about someone stays inside your head and has no effect on them. But what if that idea is completely wrong? What if every time you think about your specific person, you are actually communicating with them on a level they are not consciously aware of? Think about it carefully. How many times have you suddenly thought about someone and they texted you? Or you felt like someone missed you and later you found out they actually did? This is not coincidence. This is not luck. This is thought transmission. Your mind is not just thinking, it is broadcasting. Every assumption you hold about someone, every inner conversation you repeat, every emotion you attach to their name is being sent out like a signal. And the most important part is that you are doing this all the time, not just when you sit down to manifest. So if your specific person is distant, confused, hot and cold, or inconsistent, the real question is not what they are thinking about you. The real question is, what have you been consistently thinking about them? Because that is exactly what they have been receiving from you. Once you really start understanding this, manifestation stops feeling like something magical and starts feeling like something logical. Because now you are not just hoping that something changes in the external world. You are realizing that you are in constant interaction with that person through your thoughts. Thought transmission simply means that your thoughts are not locked inside your brain. They extend beyond you. They influence how others perceive you, how they feel about you, and how they behave with you. Not in a forceful way, but in a reflective way. The version of someone you hold in your mind becomes the version you experience in reality. This is why two people can experience the same person completely differently. One person says they are so loving, so caring, so consistent, while another says they are cold, distant, and confusing. The person is the same, but the assumptions are different. And so the experience becomes different. Now, bring this into your own situation. Think about your specific person. What is your dominant story about them? Not the story you try to affirm sometimes, but the one that naturally plays in your mind when you are not forcing anything. Do you see them as someone who chooses you, values you, and wants you? Or do you see them as someone who is unsure, unavailable, or pulling away? Because whatever feels natural to you is what you are transmitting the most. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that affirmations alone will fix everything. They repeat positive sentences for a few minutes, but for the rest of the day, their inner conversations are filled with doubt, overthinking, and fear. And they don't realize that those casual thoughts carry more weight because they are repeated more often and feel more real. Thought transmission does not respond to what you say occasionally. It responds to what you consistently feel and assume. Your mind is always sending signals, whether you are aware of it or not. When you think, why are they not texting me? That is a signal. When you think they are probably losing interest, that is a signal. When you imagine them ignoring you or choosing someone else, that is a signal too. And over time, these signals create a pattern, and that pattern is exactly what reflects back to you through their behavior. On the other hand, when you start thinking, they enjoy talking to me, they feel comfortable with me, they naturally come back to me, you are sending a completely different signal. And if you persist in that, it begins to reshape your experience. This is where Neville Goddard's teaching becomes very clear. He said that consciousness is the only reality. That means your inner world is not separate from your outer world. It is the cause of it. And when you direct your consciousness toward a specific person, you are influencing how they show up in your reality. Again, this is not about controlling someone like a puppet. It is about understanding that there are multiple versions of every person, and your assumptions decide which version you experience. Think about your inner conversations. This is one of the biggest ways thought transmission happens. Throughout the day, you are mentally talking to your specific person. You imagine what they would say, how they would react, how they feel about you. These conversations feel harmless, but they are actually very powerful. If your inner conversations are full of arguments, doubts, and negative scenarios, you are rehearsing that reality again and again. And that rehearsal becomes the experience you get. But if your inner conversations are calm, loving, and aligned with what you want, then you are preparing your mind for a completely different outcome. You may have already noticed moments where this happens naturally. You think about someone strongly, and suddenly they reach out. or you feel connected to someone and they show up in your life again. These are not random events. These are glimpses of thought transmission working in your favor, even when you are not consciously trying. The difference now is that you can start doing it consciously. Another important part of this is emotional energy. Thoughts alone are powerful, but thoughts combined with emotions become even stronger. If you are thinking about your specific person with anxiety, fear, or desperation, that emotional intensity amplifies the signal you are sending. This is why overthinking creates more negative results. It is not just the thoughts, it is the emotional charge behind them that makes them more dominant. At the same time, when you think about your person with calmness, certainty, and naturalness, that creates a stable signal. It does not feel forced. It does not feel desperate. And because of that, it is much easier for it to reflect in your reality. This is also why people say things start working when you let go. It is not that letting go is some magical step. It simply means you stop sending signals of lack and desperation. Your energy became neutral or positive, and that allowed a different version of reality to show up. But you do not have to wait for that shift to happen accidentally. You can create it intentionally. Start observing your thoughts without judging them. Notice what you are repeatedly thinking about your specific person. Notice your default reactions, and once you become aware of them, you can start gently changing them. You do not need to force yourself aggressively. You do not need to fight your mind. You just need to redirect it consistently. If your mind says, they are ignoring me, you can shift it to, they are just busy, they always come back to me. If your mind says, they are losing interest, you can shift it to, they're becoming more and more emotionally connected to me. At first, it might feel unnatural. That is completely normal because your mind is used to the old story. But with repetition, the new story starts feeling familiar. And once it feels familiar, it starts feeling real. And once it feels real, it starts showing up. This is where persistence becomes important. Not forcing, but consistency. You keep choosing the version of them you want, again and again, until it becomes your default way of thinking. Also understand this clearly. Your current reality is not permanent. It is just a reflection of your past thoughts. It is old thought transmission playing out. So if you react to it emotionally and reinforce it, you keep it alive. Instead, start seeing it as something that is already changing. Even if they are distant right now, refuse to define them that way in your mind. See that as temporary, not as their identity. Your focus should always be on the version of them you want, not the version you are currently seeing. Because the version you focus on is the version you strengthen. Once you truly understand thought transmission, you stop feeling confused about manifestation. You stop wondering what they are thinking because you realize that your dominant thoughts are shaping your experience with them. You stop chasing signs, you stop overanalyzing their behavior, and you start taking responsibility for your inner world. And this is where your power actually is. You are not trying to change them from the outside. You are changing the way you see them, the way you think about them, the way you feel about them. And that shift automatically reflects back to you. So from now on, be more conscious of what you are mentally sending. Because whether you realize it or not, you are always in communication with them. Every thought is a message. Every assumption is a signal. And every consistent feeling is shaping the version of them that shows up in your life. The moment you start choosing those thoughts deliberately, everything begins to change. I hope this helped you. I will meet you with another golden nugget soon. Happy manifesting.